Let's start with the program. We invite you to sit down. Please, can we sit down? Let us first of all test the headphones. Let everybody sit down, please. French here in the hall for the impressions and so. We will speak in our mother tongue with one of the languages that is being translated. So as yesterday, we ask first to make a pause to speak, to say it from which language you are going to speak, and then so that everybody puts his headphones if necessary. So in order to make it nicer for the streaming, if you can please sit in front all, so that we have everybody sits together. Can we try the Dutch and French in 13? Then Italian 12, sorry. Somebody has an Italian headphone? Yes. 12. English 14. Spanish is okay. Serbian language. Okay. Does it function? So we have everything. First of all, we greet the people of the streaming. We have already 300 views on the streaming, with 140 yesterday, so it's something that functions very well. We just ask those who are looking through streaming and those who are going back home if you can subscribe on the EDC, so that it can help us also for the spreading, so don't hesitate. You can subscribe there. I think the link, you all know the link. We have the impression that the Congress has lasted only one day, but on Friday morning we had the opportunity to share with us the expectations we had on this Congress in small groups. Maybe we can have some feedback, if you have had some reflections or some answers to this in this Congress, or some impressions. Everybody is free to give his own contribution in his own language. And we give some chance to the translations to switch over. We are very happy to have this diversity. And also the young people, if they could come and witness here. If not, I will pick you in the hall. So it's better to do it in a free way. If not, I will oblige you. So the mic is free. If just put up your hand if you have all questions you want to ask.
So that would be in French. In hearing Luigino this morning, I thought of a project that we are trying to define in the Catholic University of Lyon, in management and economy, more multidisciplinary, with theology, with the spiritual dimension, with psychology and law, and other disciplines also. The speech of Luigino went straight to my heart, because at the same time we are a Congress of the Economic Communion. Maybe my colleagues of the and the university may not be in the EoC, but they would be very interested in this multidisciplinary, especially in management. And with Gerardo, we talked a lot these days. We have a lot of things to do in a large manner. What we were saying a while ago, the EoC is like a river that has to go beyond, that could spread beyond the movement, and it's something that I wanted to share. Thank you very much.
En espagnol, sûrement. Ce sera traduit en italien dans la salle.
It will be translated in Italian in the hall.
Marie-Vie, si tu veux. Ah voilà, ici j'ai. Merci beaucoup. Donc ce sera en espagnol.
It will be in Spanish and in Italian in the hall. Good morning. For me, the economy of communion is a charism Chiara received in 91. It is a different way to face poverty. Sometimes it was the idea that to occupy yourself with poverty is to give food to those who don't have. But of course, before eating, the human person has a big necessity, that of feeling oneself useful. When somebody feels that he's useless, he feels himself very bad. And he may even feel values like dignity and many other things. So a way in which a person can feel himself really useful is when he can work to do something for the others. So when Chiara reached São Paulo, and she saw all the misery that was existing there, misery and drugs, she felt, she fixed on creating new job possibilities. And the poor person feels himself fulfilled and not only nourished. On the other side, I think that when we speak many times about helping the poor, it's a mistake. We are making a mistake because we are not really helping the other. We can help each other reciprocally, because the person is fulfilled if he can share. If he doesn't share, it looks like he's mutilated. And that has nothing to see with religion. It's something that concerns the person, whether he is Christian or not, whether he is atheist, a fundamental necessity, need. It's a collaboration, it concerns a collaboration, a brotherly relationship. And I would like to give an example. The poorest person is somebody who's just born, and he depends on everything from his parents. It's the mother who cares for him and gives him food, but also with affection. And she never says, I'm caring for my child. She loves the child. And oftentimes, when a mother has a child, she has a lot of sacrifices to be done. It means a lot. It is a committing activity to care for a child. But she comes out like a fulfilled person. But in order to be able to live it like that, you need maturity and another way of looking at life. And you look at the person as a person who shares with others with affection. And also in this case, it's necessary to be mature, and you acquire another way of looking at life. And this is an essential part of human being. It's not linked to our creed, but it is everybody's concern. In Dutch. My question is, it's not critics. Yeah. she's asking whether it's going for translators, that we change language. We are here on a very high level, and there's a lot of books, a lot of congresses, but I represent about 50,000 small enterprises where people don't read books, don't go to congresses. They almost not comprehend what we are saying here. So how could we reconcile these two things? People who are on academic field are very concerned with economics, and then those who are we meeting on the streets, and it's not critical meant, but how can we translate this high level of theory and the small practice of the small enterprises?
Geneviève, vous avez compris la question? Est-ce qu'on peut demander de répondre?
Io dico français. Juste une petite chose, mais
Just a small thing. I don't want to answer yet to the question.
mieux que les Cubains pouvoir faire cette chose-là pour eux.
The Cubans, for example, can do what they can for their country. Cuba has a group that is sustained by the EoC and can accompany them, adapted to what their needs. We have to support them so that they could go forward. So we have to do things where we are. It's not only Cuba that we need to do these things, but in the other countries also. I think I already said everything, but the project of EoC, in order to understand it, you have to see it in its globality. For example, here in Europe, the more that is developed more is the cultural part. If I can give the example of Africa, this accompanying concrete support, how we can do this to accompany the people who are more in the necessity in the creation of these businesses. I remember a few years ago, I take the example of Kuhn. With him, we went in the midst of the village, far in the middle of the village, where we saw together the experiences of these people. We lived with them, and after we went back, but this relationship is still there, and we are able to accompany them even afar, because there's this relationship. And Liva was telling me that the village that was 30 kilometers in the interior, they had difficulties to sell their products. So they needed stores that are near the streets. So in order to sell easier their products. So this was their difficulty. Maybe we had to give an intervention. So it's a concrete realization. For example, there's a youth that who couldn't find work and he had to do something. So we went to see the projects that they were trying to do, to really help them in this concrete way how to do the things. So it's through relationships that we can realize something concrete, and we can do this together, always with the help, with the reciprocal help together, and we can transmit this together.
Merci aussi d'apporter ta réalité dans notre congrès.
Thank you for having brought your reality in this our Congress. Maybe better in Spanish. It's true that I speak also Italian, but I'm not so good at really expressing my thoughts. So, Luca will translate in Italian on the stage. I was very happy about this meeting. And especially what Luigino said this morning, of course. And I would like to propose a bit more work for the International Commission of the EDC. Because when Chiara spoke to the Buddhists and she said what she thought about the ideal, about the charism, and now he's speaking in Italian. So if Chiara spoke in that way to the Buddhists about the ideal, about the charism, and if after 2 years we speak directly about the gospel, why can we not bring in our meetings texts of Chiara on the economy of communion? And that's why I'm saying work for the commission. For example, 10 minutes of an audio of Chiara, and then one of the commission, the International Commission, gives his interpretation and he can interpret. Because what I'm seeing in these meetings, they're too much oriented to the NGO, and so this should be my contribution. Yeah, that's my contribution. Luigino will add something. In Spanish or in Italian? Thank you. I think we really have to answer more, or to bring back more Chiara's words. I agree really. At the last big meeting we had with so many people, I concluded the meeting reading a text of Chiara which was very difficult and very universal. I have only one spouse on earth, her meditation. I think it is possible and we have to do so. But I still remember a moment when Chiara had just died and they had to elect a new president, and it was Emmaus, and at a certain point there was a debate, and Don Foresi, who was important in the founding of the movement, said, here it's not important what Chiara has said, what Chiara had done, but what we are able to say now, today, together in unity. That's much more important than recall what Chiara has said on the future or what. Surely we have to increase the sources. In our new website, We will give also a place where you can better and easier find the text of Chiara, and we still found beautiful things Chiara said, which we ourselves didn't remember or know in the archives. Beautiful things we found. We have to go back to the source, but at the same time, we have to continue to write new history. I'm very convinced of what I said just before. We have to add to the story of 91 the one of 2017, which are still able to convert. As you said, what the gospel said, you will do greater things than I did, said Jesus. I will send you the Holy Spirit who will recall you. So, if not we live of what has been done, we have to produce new things with the Spirit and of today, and that is very difficult. But if we are able to do so, it will be hard, but we have to put more sources and more future. They are not contradiction. Chiara will also speak, will always speak, but she will also speak if we also speak. We are her children, so, and we are the present of the seed.
Maybe the youth can give their impressions. I really liked what Luigina said this morning. I liked everything of it. But in my mind is this there's this part 1 and part 2. He was saying that we need both of these. I remember the experience of the two friends of us, in Belgium, the experience in Belgium on the media of Hirt and Eric. They're not present right now, but I liked it because so it's a Sylvester Productions. They talked about Jesus forsaken in different ways. I had difficulties in the EoC of using this term Jesus forsaken. If I am Christian and I have this ideal and I have to dialogue with others. If I can't really say in my way of expressing things in another way. In order to answer to the provocations that is creative by Luigi, to continue about part 1, maybe we could do laboratories. Sylvester works in media. For example, maybe they can do a video clip in the television. Their experience. Maybe they could try to, with this laboratory, maybe we could be in groups and to imagine, maybe if we can put the place of Sylvester, how can we present this in this manner? How can we talk about Jesus forsaken in a different manner? I remember I remember the presentation of Giuseppe Zanghi in Haute Marine. But I can't say it in that way. I understand it intellectually, but when I live in that experience and I encounter suffering, I think about I have only one spouse, and the thought of Pepuccio. It's spontaneous to me to express myself in this manner. But I also have, of course, I also have to educate myself in doing dialogue in a different manner.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the fraternity that you have given, that we have lived. These have been splendid days.
Per il dialogo è un concetto che si può... sorry, I was gone in Italian. Maybe we can ask Maxime, if you have to go back home and in a world which is not used to words like Jesus forsaken or so, how would you, as a young person, maybe you can give us an advice or an impression of yours, because it's also useful in French. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect that I will speak. I have to admit that I don't even know what it means, Jesus forsaken, but I think it's a choice that the movement has made now. When you speak about to open yourself, does it actually mean to be open in changing? Because it's not just open and take in people who will think like us, but we have to open our common denominator and take them in another world altogether. I think that this choice is a debate also because it has been taken the whole morning also to speak about it, and it seems we have different ideas, and I think it is also something that will continue. If your neighbor will give some impression on his yesterday, you have also given us much on the experience and what it is concretely meant. It is a multitude of projects that are in course, and what will you take from this Congress, and what will be useful for the future? First of all, I would like to thank everybody. First of all, for the welcome in this Congress, and to say also that we have the same spirit but very different cultures, and that's why it's also nice to know how the economy of communion is being developed in other places of the world. I also think, for example, me, in a special way, what I'm doing it with others. And not only with people who belong to the movement. I had to learn how to say things in a different way, and also to act in a different way, because often at times it's not words that speak, but the ways of doing things. And that's why we have to try to make this experience more, not to be any longer me, to be the other. And that is actually the charisma of Chiara. That is her charisma of unity. To give myself completely in order to be together with others, another reality. That's why I am not so much afraid of losing what is specific, the charism, because I think this is just our charism, to leave myself behind so as to be together with others, something. We have a long way to go, because also these things are cultural things. Words and things are our life, so it demands a lot from us to change. We shouldn't be worried, but we should make the effort continuously and not to be worried that things are not functioning. Thank you. Just a last impression. Sylvain Herman.
So it's in Italian. I want to take advantage of saying thank you to each one. Also, the presence of each one has given this diversity, has given this light in this meeting. I'd like to unite myself with what Herman was saying. I feel that we have different ways of communicating ourselves. There's also the different ways of life. To be agents of communion in each environment where we are, we can be agents of communion. And with our actions, through our actions, we can be agents of communion. To make this life, we need to have this concrete experiences, to always have clear the people in front of us. It's important, a reflection is important, but it is also important to maintain in the balance our acts in our lives, and to be available to welcome the other, and without leaving behind what is essential to us. Thank you. Last experience, last impression. I want to give thanks also the part of also my associate who doesn't know the EoC. He was very happy of these 2 days that he shared with us. His small conclusion was that what has enriched him, that he wasn't the only independent entrepreneur that would want to work with a spirit, a Christian spirit, with values, with the value of having attention for the other, putting the person in front. He, at least now, he doesn't feel bizarre or alien to. For me, I'm happy about this. Of course, I see that we have common values, but it's also important to, in order to bring together a business, to share the same values. A small question that I don't have an immediate answer, that has been with me since the start. I'm maybe it doesn't concern me, the economy of communion, because I'm not an entrepreneur. But how can the economy of communion, now that we think that to enlarge, how can we make other people adhere to the EOC? When we are consumers, when we have choices. If is the EOC is EOC concerned in helping in these choices? We have this respect with regards to the sellers and the clients, and if we want to enlarge this this idea, to think about this. Thank you. We still have 15 minutes actually this dialogue. Maybe also to hear the Serbians, maybe. Let's see with the translator if it's possible to have for the translations. We'll see.
Angela, if you can just come in the room.
So we're trying to see with translations for Serbia.
Here she comes.
And
so
yeah.
it will be from English.
So
Serbian English in the room, and then
someone else could do English from the others. Maybe Italian, maybe it's yeah.
Dobar dan svima.
Buongiorno a tutti.
Ja bih želeo svima da se zahvalim.
Io vorrei ringraziare a tutti.
I want to thank everyone for these days.
Pogotovo organizatorima koji su se zaista potrudili. Hvala im.
First of all, for the organizers that have worked a lot for this conference.
Pravoslavnog okruženja.
We come from an Orthodox country.
Zajedno sada sa Mađarskom, Rumunijom, Bugarskom I celom Rusijom.
Our zone is ex-Yugoslavia, Hungary, Russia, all of the East.
Sveta, oni malo drugčije razmišljaju nego mi možda ponekad.
Majority are Orthodox, and maybe it's in that way that they think differently from us. For them, they value honesty and courage. It's very important to be honest. That means if I haven't learned in saying new ways about the EoC, they could understand that I am not honest and don't understand what I am trying to say. So it's better if I talk from the heart and that they understand and they could welcome that. I was touched by what Luigino said, and we have to really learn this, and it has to come from the heart. For me, I also have this impression that we don't have enough courage, because courage means that we have to take risks. Courage means to to launch the web in larger zones, in larger places. I have the sensation that we have this fear about this risk.
Može da bude nezadovoljan, može da ne shvati dobro,
Questa persona può essere può capire male le cose.
That maybe inviting people in this conference or something, and maybe they won't be able to understand what we're talking about in the EoC.
Chiamiamo gli ortodossi, alcuni
So we talk about the Orthodox.
sarebbero
Maybe
contenti e loro
we think that the Orthodox won't be able to understand.
nelle nostre mani.
But the results are not in our hands. In our hands, we have the means.
Il risultato è nello Spirito Santo.
The results are the Holy Spirit.
nije naše da sudimo,
If something is success or not, se qualcosa funziona o no, non è nostro di dire.
If something functions or not, it's not in us.
na ovom susretu bilo više ljudi da smo bili malo hrabriji.
Ma dobbiamo essere coraggiosi.
But we have to be courageous. And maybe,
Più coraggiosi.
if we are more courageous, these conferences would be bigger. Thank you. If there's still someone in the room who wants to share something. I'm not from the Focolare movement. I wanted to know more about the economy of communion because it has impressed me and it's been the argument of my thesis. I believe that the economy of communion wakes values in the human person. In this Congress, my first Congress, I realized the capacity, the dreams that we could realize with these entrepreneurs. Like what Luigina said, she's talking too fast, so to use ways of communication, a different language, because there are a lot of people who have these values. There are a lot of people who have these values, but are non-believers. But so that we could pass to a new generation of EoC, that we could realize in these congresses there's a need to create ways of communication, because the strength is very evident. Because, for example, for me, I have been impressed by this. So still one impression. Hello everyone. I'm Hervé. I'm a student. So I'm discovering the economy of communion. It's the first time for me to participate in a congress like this. I thank the people who have invited me to this congress. I want to say that in this congress, I discover a bit that in this congress has changed something in me. It has permitted me to see things differently. The economy of communion has explained to me that it's not just to make money, but it's really to give happiness to employers, employees, and to help poor people. This is really something for everyone. It's something that it's for everyone. I am poor, but maybe I can't do anything for the poor. But I realize that I can do something. I can give something. Each one of us has a certain richness that we can share to the poor, and everyone is poor. And this is the ethic of economy of communion, I think. And is not well known, most especially for us students. And we are the future in 30, 40 years that we could be heads of businesses. So it's something that's important to us. I have to insist that we really have to communicate this, the ethics of economy of communion. It's important. I have the impression that you know that it's important, but you don't have an impression that how big it is, how important it is. I remember Sylvain was saying that those who are consumers, if everyone knew what is the economy of communion, maybe with this logo of the EoC, and buying this product can also sustain and support this organization, the EoC, and it could be much larger. I also knew the economy of communion just 2 weeks ago. And I will finish my studies in a few months. I think I have a few answers right now, and I thank God because I thank God for this. What Luigino was saying, part 1 and part 2. I also like the richness that we have to share. And all this communion give dignity to the other. We try to help each one, and when I hear this, I realize the love that I could give can give dignity to the other, and I think that the part 1 is really important. Each human being. Maybe seeing what we say in the Bible that I don't do what I hear. It really calls to the spirituality of communion, and this is what is part 1.
Thank you for all what you have said with a lot of courage for the future. We will conclude together with Luigino. Since we spoke a lot about Jesus forsaken and the challenges, I would like to give the gift which I received in the Congress with the text of Chiara, which is very strong, and I think we didn't understand it fully. I have only one spouse on earth. But we would like to give it And especially when I heard you saying also, and I say, I need to, that first part, and this is a piece of the first part. Maybe it's difficult for a few of us, but we have to give it because it is the strongest gift we have. And I remember when I heard it in Rome, Luigi said, this is the deepest text Chiara has, the most lay text Chiara has, and the most spiritual text. So I read it. This is a long text, and you can also read it all. I will just read a few sentences which, according to me, are most apt for this, what we have said in these days. Things we have told as experiences, but also my small theme I have given. The scholars have to study it, but for me, language is also life. The word, the highest word of the Bible, that word becomes flesh, becomes a child. The logos becomes a person. So language doesn't mean the work of those who studied languages, but it is our everyday's life. It is an experience, for example, of a Korean enterprise where they came to control the financial situation, and in all places, when they come to control your finances, you always pay something. It's rare that they don't make you to speak, to pay. It's like sometimes an explicit demand for compromise. And when this person didn't see it, because the motive of the lunch, the business lunch was you have to pay, he said, let me speak a moment with my wife. And he said, we are of the ADC, we cannot fall into compromise. And he said, no, we cannot. And he said, I don't want to offend you, but we cannot do it because we are the EDC. This is a new language. It's not because I thought, no, we cannot cede to this compromise. It was like a physical reaction, like when you have an allergic reaction. We cannot do so because we have a different culture, the culture of the economy of communion. So when I speak of language, I mean life, not theory. Not those who are more intelligent, they study it. No, it is our life. So making experiments, meeting people, speaking with others. Sometimes I want to make an exercise, 3 minutes in a big meeting where you explain to your normal colleague what your experience of life is, your lifestyle, in 3 minutes, in what you believe, why you made this choice. And if you manage, it's a good exercise, because sometimes the first who go in crisis because of lack of language, we are the first, because we think that what we are saying is not interesting for the others. But the exercise we are learning every day, and every generation has to do it. We have to do it. Those who will follow us after 50 years, not me, but our children will do it. So some sentences of this text are among the most lay texts because they come out of Chiara's life. It's not coming out of theory. Chiara has made a very beautiful experience and a congress she had that lasted 3 months, full of light, in 1949, where she understood, she had a revelation of what she was. She understood it in a strong way, and she was so happy that she was there in the mountains that she didn't want to come down again. And when she realized that this time had to finish, and it was Igino Giordani who helped her to understand that, no, we have to go down the mountains because people are living downstairs. We have not to remain here in the contemplation. And so Chiara made a choice, a concrete choice, and said, of course, I go down from the mountains, I go in the midst of the world, the normal life, and in order to say that in a strong way, And what is beautiful, one of the most beautiful things is a page of the Chamber of the Deputies. Chiara writes it down on one of these pages because Igino Giordani was a politician. So that's already lay, because the heading is the Chamber of the Deputies. And she says why she comes down from the mountain. And it has become a vocation, her life vocation. She said, I will go through the world looking for this God in every moment of my life. What hurts me is mine. Mine is the suffering which I meet every moment. Mine is the suffering of the one who is next to me. Mine is all what is not peace, what is not joy, what is not beautiful, what is not lovable. Mine, what is not paradise. And she concludes this beautiful sentence, which is her lifestyle. I will go through the world like fire that consumes what has to fall down and leaves standing only the truth. Why is it a universal and lay text? Because there's nothing more lay than the one who doesn't have peace, who have no beauty. And if we will manage after 50 years or 100 years or one day to explain to a colleague on the job site who is not baptized maybe, but who is also nostalgic about something spiritual, the meaning of this page without diminishing it, but also without avoiding them to understand it, then we have entered into this new language. So I came a bit late. The first day I was in Italy, in Cagliari, for something different, but I thank each one of you of these beautiful days of communion and life. That is already an exercise to be together and to have to try to explain, to find the language. At least for me it has been like that. Thank you very much.
With this, we can leave each other, and with this challenge, it depends on us to really go out of this river, and it's what Chiara wants, and that's why we're all here. And thank you very much that you are here. Without you, there would be no Congress.